If you clicked on this video, chances are you want to learn about color theory so that you can stop making these abominations. Okay, maybe that was a little bit too harsh. You're in for a treat because I'm gonna explain everything I know about color theory with my 4 years of experience drawing digitally, and just lay out practically what you can actually do. How can you apply these lessons to your own art so that you're not left looking for another color theory video and then another one and then another one, and it's been 2 hours and you know what the color wheel is, right? That's something. So let's talk about the basics. If we want to get into color theory, then we have to cover the basics. So let's start with value, saturation, and hue. And these are three things that make up a lot of different colors, right? So value is how bright or dark you can get the color to be, right? So if I have red here, then the brightest red is like, this pastel red type thing. And then the darkest red is this really dark brown reddish value, right? Saturation is, how juicy your colors look, to put it simply. How vibrant versus how dull. And when you make something more vibrant, something interesting that happens is it actually gets darker. Making the color a little bit more saturated can increase the value slightly, but it will increase the value. And same with highlights. If you want to have a really bright color, you probably don't want as much saturation to get that result. As for hue, hue is literally just changing the color, like on the color wheel. If I shift the hue down or up, you can see we're at a different color now, right? But one thing I will explain right now is that even if every color is max saturated, max value, depending on hue, it can still change the value. Like yellow, for example, is going to have a higher value than purple because yellow is just a brighter color. I don't really have the full scientific definition and explanation for that, but I do have a bro science definition, and that's why this video is called Bro Science Color Theory, by the way, guys. And now let's talk about color harmony. So there's mono, contrasting colors, triadic, quadratic, analogous, a lot of different harmonies, right? But I'm mainly going to be focusing on contrasting colors and analogous, because once you understand contrasting colors and analogous, the rest kind of becomes simple. Contrasting colors are colors opposite of each other on the color wheel, like yellow and purple. And it doesn't have to be directly opposite, but just in that general direction can work. For analogous, there are colors beside each other on the color wheel. Now these two harmonies work really well together. Like you can have a contrasting color there, and then you can have analogous colors, and it just looks really juicy and vibrant and nice, right? But with that boring part out of the way, let's go into how to actually pick good colors, how to actually use these harmonies. So there are a couple of techniques that I personally love, and let's start off with the first one. It's using light. Now you might be thinking, oh my goodness, dude, I came onto this color theory video, now you're talking about light. But hear me out. In art, you can make the light any color you want because of the atmosphere. Like if the atmosphere in your drawing is green, then you can make the light green. You see where I'm going with this? And that's very convenient because let's say you have a character that's primarily pink. Like for example, in the Splatoon piece that I have, this character is a pink inkling, but the lights that I chose were blue, like these blue LED lights. So it works really nice with that because one, it's the contrasting color, and two, because it's the light, it makes sense, right? The last thing we want is for our art just to not make any sense. And another example of this is like in my Mario and Luigi pieces, right? The fire that they're using, like red and green already contrast, which is, Mario and Luigi. Nintendo did the color theory for us, guys. So if you're doing fan art, the color theory is already done for you and the character. But, red and green are contrasting each other, right? And then I use the green fire to heighten that contrast. And then the red fire from Mario to heighten the contrast on Luigi, right? So using light to our advantage can really help us in choosing our colors, because sometimes if we just change the hue of the color to a more contrast, it doesn't even have to be full white, but to a more contrasting color, that can fix everything, really. And also, just to add on a triadic scheme, I have done it before with this drawing. It's just about adding a little accent color to the contrast. So the contrasting colors are yellow and green, right? They already form the base. And I just add a tinge of purple, just a boom, boom, a drop of purple right there. You see where I'm going now with, if you understand these types of harmonies, like the contrasting and analogous, you can build off that to fit into any harmony. E-harmony. No, I'm kidding. I don't even know what e-harmony is. I'm pretty sure it's a dating site, but you know, let's just move on. On to the second technique is thinking about color quantities. Like I showed with the triadic scheme, I didn't just evenly use green, yellow, and purple, right? 33, 33, 33. Since purple was more scarce, right? It makes the character stand out. Well, yellow and green kind of frame her in. She's in the middle of this yellow, and then there's this green. There's a lot of contrast with the character, and then she has the purple as well, which doesn't show up anywhere else. So this makes it so valuable. It makes us look over there because it's an interesting color and a scarce color in a piece dominated by yellow and green. And in my wizard piece, like you can see here, there's the blue robe, there's a purple giant, but in all that blue, there's red eyes. That huge contrast on the character makes us go to there. And then we see, oh my goodness, there's a giant. He's absolutely gonna destroy us. Just make sure to think about how much of the color you're going to put where. A side point that I think this is very important is when I'm rendering, sometimes I get lucky with the colors working well, right? Because sometimes like I may not know every single color combination, why everything works well, right? Just as you might not know. After that happens, after you realize that you don't know what colors look well, but then you accidentally make a color look really well, note that down. Because now it's like unlocking a skill in the color theory skill tree. So the next time you have that tool in your toolkit, you can do it intentionally rather than unintentionally and rely on luck. This is probably my favorite tip to use, and it is using the foreground when you're coloring. Now you might be thinking, what the heck is this dude talking about? I'll show you. Like we saw with the Wizard 101 drawing, the contrasting colors doesn't just come from the giant, but the contrast comes from the pink petals flying around him during the spell cast. So even if you have this drawing that's almost fully finished, like my one, it was almost fully finished, you can still add foreground elements. Like maybe in your piece, you can add a potion or some leaves, or like orange leaves if your background is mostly blue, right? But remember that these elements should support the main subject, which is usually your character, right? It shouldn't take away from them. In the pink petals, there's only a couple. There's only a couple in the blue area, especially in the blue area, because that's where it contrasts. So when you are drawing, make sure to keep either the foreground in mind or the background in mind when it comes to coloring. It can get you out of a really bad spot. If you can just add some, pink leaves all of a sudden, now your drawing looks great. Another one of my favorite things to do when I'm coloring is to use colors beside each other. So this is where analogous colors come into play, boys. For example, look at this piece again, right? The blue and the green is beside each other, right? So when I made the atmosphere green, I still added spots of blue, which can make it look really nice. It's not just one color, but it's a variety, and people love variety. And in this Mario and Sonic piece, especially, like we can see me use a bit of green and teal on the highlights for Mario's pants. And obviously in a real life example of this is fire. Like God literally color picked these colors beside each other on the color wheel and it's like, all right, there we go, there's fire. If that's not a good reason to use some analogous colors, then I don't know what is. But yeah, colors beside each other should be used. If you have pink hair, for example, add a little bit of red in there, or maybe even add a little bit of purple, right? It can make your drawings a whole lot more colorful and interesting to look at. And one last quick thing that I'm going to include is that when you're coloring shadows, keep the atmosphere in mind. I've heard this in a video before and it made everything click. As I said, you can make the atmosphere any color that you'd like in your drawing, right? But to make the atmosphere believable in this world that you're building, you've got to make sure that the highlights and the shadows follow along with that, right? Because if they don't, now it just looks weird. Like either your character doesn't fit in the scene or the background doesn't. And you get that weird feeling that something's wrong, but you can't quite tell why. A lot of the times, that's what's going wrong. So keep in mind that your atmosphere is also your shadow and highlight color. Like, not color, but it's gonna be in that sort of area. And also, please, please, please do not do what I did in my first couple of years drawing, which is using pure black or pure white when you're putting the base colors. And now you might be thinking, Ansh, I love doing that. Why are you going after me? Chill out, first of all. But this is for a very simple reason, right? If you make something white, for example, in the base colors, when you get to rendering, you can't make it any brighter. So when you put highlights on, and nothing's gonna happen. It can't get brighter than white, right? And the same with shadows. Black is the darkest it can be, so save those harsh colors for nearing the end of your work, so that you have more flexibility. Thank you so much for watching, and if you did enjoy the video, or if I missed something, then just comment it down below. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. My name is Ansh, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.